How we doing? All right. See if anybody's pops in here. This is a random chance that I get. I might be able to do a little live session here and talk about a couple of things. I have not been I've been working a lot of weird hours and different shifts and stuff to where traveling and it's been a pain in the ass. So I haven't had any time to really do any videos. I have a couple of videos that I could put up if I edited them or anything, but I don't have enough time to edit or kind of do the stuff that I already had planned on doing. I got a bunch of it written down, little videos, little easy things to work on, but I just gotta find some more time somehow. Now this is a chance that I'll be able to talk about a few things, and then what I might do is just kind of bullshit about the last thing that I did was a video. I think I put up a video about point shooting and index shooting and a couple things on that, so I guess I could talk about that for a minute while I got some time here. And I got a lot of good answers to that question, so I put it on Instagram and YouTube, and it's been a while, so I've gotten a lot of questions, a lot of answers. Is there anybody on here? People aren't. So I got a lot of good questions, a lot of good answers for what people think point shooting is, or index shooting, or seeing sights versus referencing sights. The fun part about that, the reason I even did it, was to kind of show that that's one of the big hurdles that we come across in training and trying to shoot and trying to get some sort of dictionary, right? Some sort of reference for terms and terminology. And the thing is that everybody has different definitions for all these different words. So it's kind of like, well, the way I was taught point shooting is this and this, and so it's really difficult to get into it. So it was kind of interesting, and that's what the comments show, is everybody's answers were, you know, a multitude of different kind of things, where a lot of people had similar ways to look at it, and then a lot of people had totally different stuff. So what's this say? What's your favorite ice cream? I don't know. Probably not much on just like regular old vanilla ice cream, chocolate ice cream, something simple. Maybe Oreo ice cream. I don't like the whole cookie dough and all that shit. I think you're kind of ruining ice cream when you put all that shit in it, right? If I wanted to eat cookies, I'd eat cookies. But yeah, so the point shooting versus index shooting thing is actually pretty interesting stuff, and I look at it like this. I think point shooting is when the gun is like one-handed down below, like almost shooting from the hip, or shooting from in a point shooting manner that you have no time to reference anything or any kind of lineup. You're just basically, you know, so quick or so lacking of any kind of reference to the sights or the back of the gun or anything. Or you're using it down here almost like Taryn Butler does those little things and demos where he shoots, and he's obviously practiced it a ton because he's freaking crazy good at it, shooting from the hip. So that's kind of how I look at point shooting, and I don't think point shooting has that much benefit. I think index shooting is where I think a lot of gains can actually be made if people will kind of let themselves use that, and understand that we can be pretty damn accurate and extremely fast if we kind of let go of the sights a little bit and do a little bit of index shooting. So what I like to refer to as index shooting is anywhere where I've built some sort of index. If I'm up here two-handed freestyle, I've built that index to where I know I can close my eyes and draw, and I'm going to be pretty damn close. Anything past like 10 yards, I could be off the target maybe a little bit, but probably not. I'd probably be A or C, even at 10 yards, just using the index and natural feel, not even lining the gun up or using any actual part of the gun. Then index shooting, we can use our sight as a whole. Like a lot of the time when I'm shooting fast in competition, there'll be a couple of targets stacked together. I'm just using the window itself. I'm not using the actual dot. Now, that's index shooting. Or another example of index shooting would be if you are using a thumb pectoral index, an index, right? It's something that you know, and then you know when you have it in that certain spot, those bullets, you have a real good idea where the hell you're shooting. It's not just completely hand-eye coordinated or just completely shooting whatever. So that's kind of the way I look at the difference. Index is going to be something that we've built, something that we have established, something that we know works to where we can go back to that same place every time. And then this is the one where everybody kind of went in different directions. Is I asked, what's the difference between seeing your sights and referencing your sights? So this is kind of interesting because a lot of people said the opposite of what I am kind of getting at with this, where in that index shooting, if I draw an index shoot extremely quickly, boom, I am going to see my sights, but I'm not referencing them in order to get the shot. So I'm not saying dot press, as I would on a 10-yard target, a 15-yard target. I'm going to draw dot press, prep, dot press, prep, dot press. That'd be my reference of that dot. So the dot is where I want it. I've referenced that in relation to my target and shit, and I'm all good, bang. So seeing my sights, I guess, is kind of a bad term to use, but that's the whole point of this whole thing is a lot of people say see your sights. You got to see your sights, see your sights, see your sights. It's like, okay, but seeing my sights doesn't really mean I'm using them, right? Referencing your sights, actually referencing, hey, my sight is where I want it to be in relation to me, my eyeball, and the target. Now I'm going to go ahead and say that that reference is good enough, or I have referenced well enough to use those sights and know that I can call that shot right where it goes. So I look at seeing my sights as anything where if I'm shooting full target focus with iron sights, which I shoot mainly all target focus with iron sights, which a lot of people are starting to figure out. There's not that much difference between dots and irons when you shoot target focus all the time. Like, there's really, the benefits of the dot kind of go away just a little bit. The precision of it doesn't. But the benefits of iron sights at close distance versus the dot, like, there's no difference there, because if we're shooting them both full speed, target focused, 100 miles an hour, there's no real difference. So when somebody says they're faster with irons up close, or irons are faster up close, it's like, well, no. I mean, that just means that you're looking for a front sight on a shot that you don't even need to reference it, right? You might see those sights, but you didn't have to reference it to get a shot off. So that's the kind of thing. If I'm shooting super fast with iron sights, target focused, the sights are up here on my eye line. So I'm seeing everything that's happening up here. I'm seeing my red dot bounce around. I'm seeing my iron sights. I'm seeing the back plate of the gun. I'm seeing the hammer of the gun, whatever. I'm seeing all this shit. I'm just not referencing it to actually dot press, dot press, dot press. And that's where I kind of delineate when I talk about acceptable sight pictures, which is a huge block of the first day of my 2-day class, is acceptable sight picture, and allowing yourself to kind of send it without over confirming. We use that whole thing of don't worry about necessarily seeing your sights on or referencing your sights on close-up targets where you can basically index shoot. You can use your natural index, your body feel and everything, and you'll see, in your brain and eyeballs are faster than your body, so you'll see if everything is tuned in. You're going to feel if you've got things right, and if you're completely out of whack, you're going to feel that immediately anyway. So then the first kind of sight picture that we have for close hoser type targets, or someone in defensive context, someone's right up on you, you got to go to work right now, you're going to be using an index sight picture, an index sight package, and be able to index shoot. So you're not point shooting, you're not just totally point shooting, but you are using the index that you've built, or using a thumb pectoral index, something to where you're now not referencing the sights, you are referencing your body in alignment with the environment, time and space, and whatever, I guess. So is that making sense? And then the next sight package that we use is a reference sight package. So basically that means prep dot press, dot press, dot press, dot press, dot press. So if I'm going for like a super fast bill drill, my first shot is probably going to be an index shot. I might see my dot. I'm definitely going to be seeing the A zone in the tube, right? I'm going to be seeing the A zone through my optic, and my first shot's probably going to be an index shot, because I'm not going to wait to reference, right? If I'm trying to go really fast on bill drills, trying to push the limits, the first shot's probably going to be an index, and then the subsequent shots are going to be dot press, dot, 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 dot. So I just kind of see my dot bouncing inside the A zone, all good. And then also where we get into it is, your dot doesn't have to be sitting still. We need to stop thinking about sight pictures and start thinking about sight videos, right? Our dots are never still. Our sights are never still, ever. So everybody wants that thing, that dot, to sit there, just sit still. And if you just sit there, you son of a bitch, and then I can pull my trigger. Sit there and sit there and sit there. And it never happens. We never ever get to wobble out. We never ever get to settle completely. So you can still reference your sights and be pretty damn precise with the sights moving all around. And then the third package that we kind of put together and talk about is like a deliberate sight package, where if you're shooting something that's pretty far away, or a tight shot or something like that, then you're gonna need to have a kind of a more deliberate shot process, where each shot is its own kind of shot process. So if it's a small piece of steel at 20 yards or 25 yards, or a no shoot that's real tight, you need to go from index shooting, hosing targets, to potentially reference, and then maybe a hard shot. You would go to a deliberate sight package and be able to prep, bang, and do that kind of work in that kind of way. Those would be like the 3 acceptable sight pictures and packages. And then I also don't just talk about the sights, I kind of put it together with the whole body and our gross body alignment to targets, because we don't shoot just based off of sights. And if we do shoot just based off of sights, we are most likely giving up tons and tons of time, and tons of time is rolling off the clock on easy targets or mid-range targets, because we are just trying to settle those sights way too much, and we're sucked into the sights too much, and not allowing ourselves to kind of see more broadly, see everything as it happens, and flow in and out of that, you know, referencing the dot, then I'm index shooting, then I'm referencing the dot again, then oh, there's a deliberate hard shot, gotta you know, chill out my little bit. Maybe I do need to settle that dot a little bit more for something like that. But most of the time, the dot and the sights are just bouncing all around, and we never really get a chance to settle in. And that's why if we need to work accuracy, and we need to work our B8s and 25-yard work, and just shooting groups, seeing how small you can shoot groups and stuff like that. Like, that shit's important, but understand that you almost never get a settled dot, whether it's in a defensive context or competition. You're never really going to get a nice settled dot, bang. Like, it's just probably not going to happen. So what I like to do is see how fast I can shoot a group. Like, I'll give myself maybe a 2-inch circle and say, okay, now how fast can I actually shoot that 2-inch group, and just kind of ding, ding, ding. How much settle do I really need? Can I let that ball bounce on the floor? So if I want my 2-inch group to be here, all right, so this is how I look at accuracy when I'm trying to just stack rounds. I just think of it as a bouncing ball, right? And then the floor is right in the center of that 2-inch circle. Bounce, 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 and I just make the floor where my trigger pull is. So I'm prepping in recoil, dot kind of comes back down, bounces off the floor, bounces off the floor. And I do that drill with people. It's on the channel. It's a drill that I recommend. Like, if you only had one magazine to run at the range, that drill would probably be one of the best things you could possibly do. And it shows you just how easy it is once you kind of let go of things a little bit and stop trying to control the damn gun so much. It shows you kind of how easy it is to actually stack rounds, boom, 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 right on top of each other. The less you try to control the gun, the less you try to really cork in on the recoil and try to keep the gun real flat, you can actually just kind of dink, 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 drop rounds pretty easily. So let me look at some of these comments real quick here. I will scream. What's the fastest shot you would feel confident? What is the farthest shot? What is the furthest shot you'd feel confident taking in a mass shooter situation? Man, I mean, in that particular situation, especially with what I'm carrying most of the time, which is a full-size 17 with an SRO, or a 19 with good sights. Obviously, depending on backstop, but I'm taking whatever shot. It really, I know I can hit a humanoid target at 150. I'm going to hit it somewhere. Now, it might be in the knee, or in the thigh, or in the waist, or whatever, but I'm going to be trying to put bullets on that sumbitch wherever I could, right? If there's any chance of a backstop situation where people are in the line of fire, then that would obviously dictate everything. But I believe in an active shooter situation, if that sumbitch ever presents themselves up against a wall or something, a brick wall, or something you've deemed like easily, if you've got the room, if you distance equals time and safety. So if I'm watching this occur and I just happen to be in that situation to be able to see this thing coming at that much distance, or the individual's maybe facing another direction or something, I'm gonna try to shoot them in the face from 150 or so, you know what I mean? But that all depends. Now, where would I feel totally confident to put one in them? Probably anywhere inside of 100. With a dot, that's one of the greatest things about shooting a dot pistol, and that's one of the best things about carrying a full-size pistol too. Like, the next pistol I buy is probably going to be a Glock 48, because I just really like those things, and it's just so much easier to carry. But it is really nice when you're walking around Walmart or something like that, and you look down and there's a 100-yard shot to be made. So you just look at the places that you're in. I mean, shit, there's long ways to shoot every once in a while, and having that dot, I mean, that's where it takes a complete, you know, that's where it leaves iron sights in the dust, really, is that kind of situation. But you know, active shooter situation, something like that, I'd be willing to do whatever I had to, I guess, if I thought I could handle it or thought I could get it done. So taking my own skill level into account, like that's me saying, okay, you know, I wouldn't recommend for people to even get involved if they don't have a fairly high level of skills, to tell you the truth. I mean, I would say in that situation, in a mass shooter situation, I would tell more people to get involved than in any other situation. Obviously, that's kind of like the situation that you kind of throw your own caution to the wind, I think, if you're proficient. If you know what you're doing and you have a great deal of confidence in what you can do, I think get after it. What's everybody's opinion on 20-inch AR, 20-inch rifle as far as AR-15? I mean, there's nothing that shoots any nicer than a 20-inch AR or an 18-inch rifle length gas system. It just, for what ARs are, and now with the bullet technology, I believe that 16 inches and under, I don't really like anything under 12, or I guess 11 and a half. Shit, what's 10.3 is like the Mark 18s and stuff, and I think for regular old home defense civilian people, you know, I like the 12 and a half and 14 and a half. That's kind of where I stay, right there. For me, for what I want to do and how far I look at an AR-15 like a 300-yard gun, basically. So I kind of try to stay in what's the nicest, smallest package where I can still get good velocity, still do good work. And then bullet technology and everything is so nice nowadays that a 14.5 gun is just a beast of a gun, really. When you're talking about ARs as far as like versatility, it's pretty small, can be maneuvered really easily, just as easy as anything else, and 16-inch for that matter. But there's nothing as nice shooting wise as a 20-inch. And then, to tell you the truth, if I was going to be in Afghanistan shooting, you know, that most of the distances that they're working with out there, I'd probably rather have a 20-inch or an 18-inch AR, because you're getting full velocity, you're able to send some stuff. Mark 18 or Mark 12 DMR style rifle is probably, that's probably what I would want in my hands over there, depending on what I'm doing, obviously. But if you think about just what's your surroundings like, what your engagement gonna potentially look like if you were ever to use an AR in anger. Just got a P365 SAS. I've looked at one of those in a gun shop, that is all. I have not seen one out on the range or anything. Yeah, you'd have to tell me, dude, how you like it and how you get along with it as far as how accurate it can be. And I look at it like, if that's a kind of a running around town gun or whatever, I like it. Now, personally, I'd rather have a Glock 48 or a 365, one of the XL ones, because my hands are too big for the regular 365. I feel like I can shoot it one-handed, but I like can't get my support hand on a 365 in a good way. So the Glock 48 is just a little bit wider as far as front to back, and it gives me just a little bit of something to get onto. But I'd rather have that with a red dot, with a little Hollow Sun 507K, I think they are, on the SIG XL or a Glock 48. than that SAS. But at the same time, hey, I think it's plenty usable. I mean, we were just talking about the whole index and stuff, and I mean, if you put one of those in my hands and just said, hey, you have to shoot this, you know, match with it or something, I think it could be actually a fun thing to try to do. Like, I've been thinking about, there was supposed to be a club that was supposed to have monthly USPSA matches, and then they were going to throw in a couple of other ones that are indoor matches in Morgantown, West Virginia. And I haven't gotten any of the emails. I haven't been around really that I'd be able to go to them, but I've been looking to see if I could go to jump in one here or there. And I don't know if they've kind of quit doing it, or if they're not doing it every month, or what the deal is. But I think it'd be fun to just kind of grab a pistol of some kind off of somebody, you know, borrow it or whatever, and just shoot different shit and try to do matches with some small little guns or whatever, mix it up a little bit. Because this right now is, I've been totally off. I haven't been shooting or anything. I've been dry practicing a little bit, but nothing too special. And then trying to ramp up for this spring. Got a lot of shit gonna go on. I extended the trip to Texas. We pushed back a little bit because I am damn sure not going to Texas when it's cold. Like, I'm not leaving here and going to Texas and it'd be just as cold in Texas as it is here. Like, I'm not doing that. So as soon as it warms back up down there, we're gonna head that way. 20-inch AR is it's gonna give you all the velocity. Make that 5.56 round do what it's supposed to. Just like I said, nowadays with good ammo and stuff like that, and not having to use ball ammo like the military does, and things, we can get some good work out of let me see here, out of that 14.5 12.5 gun. Really the same pistol. This is pretty slick. Shit. Also need to be aware that in an active shooter situation, that you with the gun is going to be an issue for sure. That's the weirdest part of the whole thing, and when you really get deep into that conversation, it's like you got to kind of really take a quick 360 of where you are and figure out, like, should I, can I, if I do, and that's a whole lot of decisions to make quickly. I think, I mean, I don't know, that's tough. But the damn sure best thing I could think of is getting some rounds on them, or you know, especially if you come into that situation quickly and you are there and there's no fire being exchanged, right? Putting a round or two in that direction is going to change the course of that whole thing. So you could make that person, you know, maybe they thought it out in their head much differently. Maybe they thought that they weren't going to get any opposition whatsoever. All of a sudden you sling a couple rounds at them, hit them in the ass or something, whatever it is, whatever you got available to you, and it's going to change the dynamic, at least, of what's going on, and then possibly you know, might give somebody a heads up or a chance to get out of there. So it's one of those things where that's a long conversation that you can go into a whole lot of little nuanced areas there. Yeah, it's cold as shit in Texas. I'm like, I'm not. We're gonna have to push her back because I am not coming to Texas when it's cold out. You know, when I try to leave the Northeast in the winter, I'm trying to go south so it's warmer, not just as cold. So actually, it'll probably be pretty sweet by the time, you know, a couple weeks this little cold spell gets out of there. Spring probably starts pretty quickly around March. So if we can just make it through the rest of February, try her out in March, that'll be perfect. 20 minutes away from me in April, so of course I'm gonna be. Man, I would honestly take both. So gonna take 365 with a 507K or CZ P10C with a Holosun. I mean, it depends really what your goals are as far as shooting goes. For me personally, I can practice all day, every day with a big gun, and then when I go to shoot a small gun, I can run the shit out of it. I only grip pistols one way. I grip them all hard, and that's it. Like, I don't really worry about different mechanics, really. With a real small, you know, a 365 or something really small like that, I might change up the way I rack the slide. Probably go to a little kind of a slingshot on the back of the slide instead of over the front like I normally do. But as far as going from big pistol to small pistol, I don't see any real big changes in my performance, so I don't really worry about trying to practice, even though I don't even own real small guns or carry them. I think whichever one you're going to have more fun in the class with, and the skills and what you learn in the class is going to be teaching you how to practice, going to be teaching you what to get better at and how to practice, so you can take that home and apply it to any gun you got. I would probably say just run your P10C, just because more mag capacity, a little bit easier on you as far as putting a lot of rounds through a little ass gun where you're kind of clamping into that little gun, and it's a little easier in Scott's case. It's a little easier when you can see somebody working with a full-size pistol. I can see exactly how your hands are on it. I can look at it in recoil and see what's going on a little bit easier, to where if you're all smashed up on a 365 or something, it's like, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I don't personally think that you need to always, you know, shoot the gun or train with the gun and that you carry the most. For me, it doesn't really matter, but as long as you take the stuff that you learn in that class and make sure you use it in your practice going forward, and then really all I make sure of, if I'm carrying a different gun, or like a Glock 19 versus a 17, bigger grip and stuff, I just draw a couple times, kind of make sure that I'm right for that right there, or just feel the difference in that. And that's also one reason why I like Glock, is because it's just so damn simple to have. You know, big ones and small ones, they all feel the same. The triggers feel the same. Everything's damn near the same. So it's pretty pretty simple stuff in that regard. Okay, what the hell are these little? They run both of them and just kind of throw one to the side for a little bit and then grab another one. And I would for sure take both, because if something were to happen where you have a catastrophic failure, you got to have a backup. So I would for sure take two, no matter what. And then, you know, I would ask Scott, hey, you know, I'm going to get my 365 and run a couple of rounds with it. Do you think I should do anything different, or do you see anything with my grip or my technique that you would want me to kind of switch up or something? Just kind of play with it. What's this say here? Yep. Yeah, I like to definitely want people to train with what they shoot, but I don't think it's as crazy like everybody, you know. I don't know. Some people just take everything to the extreme, like, hey, if I carry appendix, then I can't possibly shoot anything else. And it's like, well, I don't know about you, but I don't just all of a sudden become physically retarded when I switch gear. or I got a big gun or a small gun, all of a sudden, oh my God, I forgot how to shoot. I forgot how to draw. I forgot how to do this. Oh, I've been drawing out of my my competition gear for 2 days now. Now I can't shoot my appendix stuff. What's going on? Like, just get better at shooting all the time and keep going. Linear progression. And then guess what? Put a freaking single action army in my hand. I'll be able to shoot it well, right? You just keep getting better at shooting, and then whatever you put in your hands or whatever belt style or setup, you can just rock and roll with. And then if you always practice AIWB, I think the messing around and changing things actually helps. You know, it's making you more versatile, and there's plenty of things that I started incorporating in my appendix stuff after I started going to gear. Now, I ran 100% appendix and didn't even own an outside the waistband holster for 2 years. And I said, I'm going to be able to draw super fast and do all these things and fast drills and Scott standards and stuff like that. I want to be able to do all that stuff before I put on a competition belt. And that's kind of what I did. And then eventually was like, okay, now it's time to get into a different genre of shooting here a little bit and start working on competition stuff. So it all makes you better no matter what. Active shooter thing, man, I think try to change that fight, and then sure as hell, if you ain't using it, put it away. So and that's tactically not super good, right? But the situation is somebody's running around with a gun shooting people. You don't want to be running around with a gun. So if you do a little bit of work and then you have the chance to maybe maneuver to a different spot or something, in the meantime, put that thing away. If something happens, that's why we're fast on the draw. We whip it back out again. But that's the bad part about the active shooter thing is you don't want to be the dude running around with a gun when all the cops are looking for a dude running around with a gun. Yeah, I mean, they're totally pussies. They're gonna take their own life as soon as they get really any feedback, any opposition. So that's kind of where I look at it. Like, if I have any chance to start changing that fight, altering that that path, because you know that person has visualized it in their head. They think they're going to walk in this way, and when they go this way, they're going to do their thing, and they've probably thought about it 100 times. And as soon as you kind of change their plan up, they're probably gonna wilt. Yeah, man, I just run the P10C a good bit, and then maybe run a couple iterations, couple drills with the smaller pistol, and go back and forth a little bit. Patreon info? I have a Patreon, man, but I've never I set one up a long time ago. I don't know if I'd ever even if I told anybody about it or not, but I don't know if I even know the password and shit to get into it. or if I can get into it. And I don't know what it's called. I mean, I would imagine it's just Applied Performance or something on there. I guess if you look it up, I don't know how any of that stuff works. I've never messed with any of it, man. So, I mean, I might put some information out there if people want to help me out. And that's you know, that's that's up to you guys, but I've never really asked for that kind of stuff, or I set it up because Humble Marksman and I were talking. I talked to him a good bit. Just text back and forth, little shit here and there. And he was telling me that I should, because of like the whole YouTube banning and all this kind of stuff going on. So I set it up a while ago, but I've never used it. Yeah, when you're shooting a full-size pistol, sometimes it's a lot easier for the instructor to just kind of see exactly what you got going on, and then, but you definitely want to kind of just make sure that you take all that stuff back and apply it to the smaller pistol if you can at all. Or, like I said, take both of them and do a couple drills with each, kind of see if you're able to keep roughly the same amount of work. You should be able to pretty much duplicate the same amount of work, or the same level of work, no matter what really is in your hands. Small pistol, big pistol, like a 365 XL is just big enough to what I would consider a workable pistol. Anything really a lot smaller than that, like a Glock 42 or something like that, or a 43 even, I can't do much with them. I just can't get my support hand on them. They're too damn small. But should be able to really do about the same. So if you get a chance later, take another look at the comments on your questions. Oh, I did look at that. I just forgot to ever get back to you. I looked at that. You left a link there to look at that video and look at the comments. Man, on law enforcement stuff, 90% of cops are taught terribly as far as shooting stuff. So, I mean, you see a lot of cops doing a lot of terrible gun handling. You see a lot of wild inaccuracies, a lot of huge lack of recoil control or accountability on shots, and they're just kind of, once they decide to pull the trigger, just kind of letting them fly. You see guys like in that video where you guys were talking about how low his grip was and stuff, and it looked to me like he was using the old crush grip, which, you know, that grip can be used to fairly good effect, but it just shows perfect example of how bad the training is for law enforcement. It just is. And it's not everywhere. It's not like every police department is terrible on how they train, but it's just tough because you get a lot of people that are just regurgitating right on down the line. Whatever they learned, whatever Billy Bob taught them, then he's the best shooter, so then he becomes the instructor, and then next thing you know, 25 years later, they haven't changed any of their real standard operating procedures as it goes to training or firearms or anything like that. And then you just kind of see. And then I forget what the other guy was saying in that comment thread, that it was the angle of the video or something, which I don't know why. I'm just kind of trying to take up for nothing, I guess. But yeah, I did look at that. I just forgot to say anything back to you. I haven't looked at YouTube or anything in a couple days now. That's why I figured I'd jump on here. Yeah, you guys in the South are all out of power stuff. I saw in Louisiana there was electrical surges blowing up transformers, and big balls of lightning were flying back all the lines and surging and blowing out the transformers. I was like, geez, it looked pretty rough. For the next 15 minutes or so here, if you guys got any questions, man, put them in here, and we'll rapid fire some questions here. So let's see here. I look calm today. Well, it's because I'm tired. I woke up at 3:30 and started plowing snow and shit, running all around. So, 3 days without water. Wow. Recommend a foam wedge for your 8IWB Kydex. Some holsters yes, some holsters no. On the back of my Filster Spotlight, I have like 2 thin strips of a yoga block cut down. I kind of rigged it up myself, and just 2 little thin strips just to kind of give a little bit of extra pad. But that's a big holster for an X300 and everything, so it's a little bit of a different story. Most of the time I don't really run them. For the Harry's holster, I don't use one because it's just sits in there nice, and then for my other little holster shit, I don't think there's one on it anymore either. But it just all depends on the holster, the belt, the claw setup. Sometimes it makes a huge difference, and it's just awesome. But the Enigma belt system, I think it's pretty awesome, man. So, you know, Filster's been around for a long time. They know what they're doing, and to come up with something like that for people, I wouldn't use it, and I don't really see the need for it personally myself. So check this out. All right, so let me see if I can do this real quick. Oh, there we go. Okay, so for my belt, I just have Blue Alpha Gear belts. I have about 3 of these. This one here is my everyday beater. It's 3 years old, beat to shit. I mean, it's rough, but it's just a work belt. So all I do, this thing's 3 years old. Never had a problem doing this. I've done it from day one. All I do is go like this. That's how I wear the belt all day. It ain't coming apart. Okay? So when I'm going to the gym, or got a pair of sweatpants or jogging pants on, or board shorts or something, I just wrap my belt around me just like this and throw my holster on. Like, I'm not wrapping this belt all through and everything. Like, what do I need to repel from it? These things are so freaking ridiculously overbuilt and strong, and they need to be, because they need to have that rigidity to them. But then you don't need to buckle this thing down like a damn padlock on there. So even look at this one, it's old, and the Velcro is kind of wearing out and shit, but ever since I've had this thing, and all of them, I've never once looped it all through there the correct way. I wear it like this all the time. What that allows me to do is, just like you just seen, I can whip it around, and I'll throw the holster on there, and then if I'm wearing sweatpants or gym shorts or something, I just simply wrap it around me, stick my holster behind the shorts, and I can carry whatever. And it's basically doing the exact same thing. And you can't tell that I have a belt on. If I have enough of a shirt to conceal a pistol period, then you can't tell that I have a belt on. So that's how I've always done stuff like that. But I do understand that, I think for females and certain ways that people have to dress, or certain body types potentially that have to dress around work clothes or different things. I mean, it's definitely awesome. And I've talked to a bunch of people that said it's legit and it's comfortable. It's not really weird or anything, because it kind of looks uncomfortable. Like, you look at it and you think, what the hell? How's that even work? But I've talked to a couple people that have them now that are pretty pumped on it. So it's definitely an awesome setup for sure. All right, Codex bruises in the pubic bone after a day or two of use. Why I asked. Okay, for the bumps, right? Yeah, I mean that's the thing. If you need a bump and you get like dug into, then by all means, that's you need to do it. If you don't, if you can get away with it, sometimes that's holster, sometimes that's, you know, just body type or whatever, but it's for sure a viable option to put a little yoga bump on there. A lot of holsters nowadays are selling them, and a lot of companies are selling like pre-made little wedges and shit. Oh shit. Turn the old battery on. All right, let's see here. Next class dates for this year. The first class will be in April, I think third weekend in April. I'm not even sure what the days are, but the third weekend in April, I'm gonna start to do some things, and that'll be the first class at my home range. And it'll just be a one-day performance pistol class. Same old, same old. Get 5 or 6 people, nothing too special. But we have a lot of work going on this spring at the range. So there's a lot of shit about to happen. In my opinion, I just don't think cops train that often or that much on their shooting skills. Many of them are too busy driving around trying to bang other people's girls. Yeah, I mean, hey, that's very, very possible. They just don't have the right people, and a lot of the times they, you know, it's a whole bureaucracy, and there's a lot of red tape around any kind of training or any change to any law enforcement SOPs as they try to figure things out. And the future, you know, comes quickly, and it's really hard to get anyone to change the way they do things. And it's hard for as much as I know about it, I don't know that much about it, but as far as getting like the head guy in charge to sign off on this person coming in to train some people, or maybe making the qualifications, the standards a little bit higher. You have a lot of people in the brass that maybe they can't make those qualifications. Maybe they can't, you know, get that done. So there's just a lot of shit that goes into law enforcement training that makes it a difficult endeavor. I mean, more often than ever, though, there's good training being provided to a lot of good departments, but there's just so many police departments, and a lot of the you know, a lot of the officers, it really comes down to hiring. And really all problems with police, a lot of people talk about training. You know, whether it's hand-to-hand, firearms training, de-escalation training, you know, dealing with public, freaking speaking training. Most of the time it all comes down to hiring standards. They don't put, well, nowadays they just put whoever. Hell yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of just bad hiring practices. You know, it's just hard to get people to want to be cops nowadays. Christ, shit. I mean, you go out and do this job where every day is a you know, you're meeting people on their worst days all the time, and people treat you like shit, even if you're the best, nicest, coolest cop in the world. That you know, hasn't ever hurt anyone but scumbags. It's just a tough gig. So then you get a lot of shitty people by hiring just about anybody, and then that's when you have more and more bad shoots. You have more and more, you know, order followers that are just trampling on rights and stuff. Like, I mean, it just sucks all the way around. But that is there's a hell of a lot of shit in the law enforcement training and stuff. Yeah, work dress code requiring Enigma for sure. That's where I think it's going to be big for people. Train, write, and draw, shoot well, anything. No, from what I've seen, unless you're wearing that Enigma in some kind of crazy way, but from what I've seen, a lot of people are orienting it in a way that it's basically AIWB, but it just might be a little bit higher or something. And then most of the time, I think you can get it situated to where it's really close to just an AIWB holster. So the draw stroke, everything. From what I've seen, I think as far as draw stroke and stuff like that goes, it's a non-issue. Damn, you need something. Yeah, being a cop nowadays is tough. And that's a tough ass job. For one, I mean, it's never been an easy job. And two, what's bad is, and what I see a lot of, you know, and I'm no cop apologist. I've been on the wrong side of law enforcement. A lot of the experience that I have in fighting and you know, violence and stuff like that was from being on the wrong side of law enforcement, doing shady, dumb shit when I was younger, and just being an idiot. So I'm not a big fan of law enforcement. I've seen them do a lot of people dirty. I've seen a lot of shit when I was running around in inner cities of, you know, Baltimore, Pennsylvania, or Philadelphia. There's just a lot of nasty shit that goes on, and I don't particularly like cops very much, but I still see, like, it's a tough freaking job, and they're getting it from both ends right now. One, they're not good enough, they need more training, all this shit, but then defund the police over here, and everybody else is saying need more training, and these people are saying you need more training and defund the police. And then, you know, even the Second Amendment people and like conservatives are pissed, like, oh, now you're gonna take my guns away. Like, it's tough, man. That's a tough spot to be in. There's nothing really, there's no upside. I mean, besides the chances that they get to really do good. And I know plenty of cops who are really solid people. I know a couple of them that are the biggest piece of shits I know, but still, that's just a tough thing. And I think because of the hiring standards and stuff like that, and just if you're going to hire anybody who walks in the door, anybody who's willing to do it, I think that's kind of a job where you need to be, it needs to be kind of a calling, right? You need to really feel compelled to do that job. Whereas if you're just looking to get a paycheck and get some decent benefits and stuff, like that is not the job for you. Cops are getting it from every angle. And the bad part is for the 2A side of the house, you know, a lot of people miss this point, and then a lot of people try to drive this point too hard, which is like, okay, yes, if the government wants to come take our guns away, guess who they're going to send? They're going to send the police. And the cops are the arm, they're the teeth of the government. The government can't do shit without without their foot soldiers to go do the job. But at the same time, I think that that all the police departments will kind of band together and say, no, we're not going to enforce that. And it's like, well, it'd probably be 50-50, honestly. You got people that are thinking either feed their family or lose their job, lose their career. A lot of them people are going to roll over and do whatever they're told, you know, and that's what sucks. But I'm glad I'm not in that position. I don't know what'll happen with all the gun control coming down the pipe, but it's really hard to say on that. Some of the stuff that they got proposed is just silly, which a lot of these gun channels and stuff are constantly talking about this shit, like HR 127 and executive orders about this, and Biden's coming to take assault weapons and all this shit. You know, the best thing that they can do for us is try to take too much, right? The worst thing that they can do is nibble, right? If they nibble at shit piece by piece by piece and just keep killing us, death by 1,000 cuts, and keep taking a little bit, just a little bit, and don't get greedy about it, 10 years from now, it'll all be gone. Because people aren't willing to throw down and say enough's enough and drawing the line in the sand when it's just a bump stock, when it's just a pistol brace, when it's just a little more, just a little more, just a little more. Instead of 30 round mags, we'll have 26 round mags. That'll be the limit. Oh, okay, we can get away with it, right? People aren't willing to draw that line and really draw the line in the sand and throw it down and say, all right, I'm willing to lose everything. I'm willing to lose all this. I'm willing to lose my vehicles, my home, and all this shit over this Second Amendment. It's going to be real hard for people to do that when they're trying to take just a little bit at a time. But if they come out and just say, all right, assault weapons ban, give us your AR-15s, turn them in, or we're coming to get them, that's where people can be like, all right, that's it. All right, there's the line. You just found it. Let's do whatever we got to do. But if they keep taking a little bit here and a little bit there, they can do it. 10 years from now, dude, you better believe. Yeah, you learn about the police when you're on the other side of them for about this much. When you're on the other side of the cops for one day, you kind of learn, all right, like you guys really don't give a shit who anybody is, as long as you're either team blue or you ain't. Take guns from homeowners in New Orleans after Katrina. Guess who did it? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And man, that's where it's like, you know, support law enforcement. I think law enforcement is very, very necessary, and it is a necessary thing. And I do everything I can to help anybody in law enforcement. If a police officer contacts me and wants training or anything, you know, I'll hook them up. I don't do police departments because I don't want to teach people that don't want to learn. So I'm not doing a whole department, but I'll do 3 or 4 guys from a department, or you know, whatever, or private lessons with officers all the time, and I ain't got no problem with that. I do everything I can to put another good cop out there. As far as hand-to-hand stuff or gun shit, like whatever. But it's a fine line between yeah, between being pro-police and still being worried about people following orders. Yeah, 1,000 cuts. That's exactly right. They'll end up like England or Germany. It's all really the same when you kind of, you break it down. I mean, they need to disarm. They need to make you hate your neighbor. They need to make, divide and conquer. Divide by making you hate your neighbor, but divide by dehumanizing. I mean, the same way they want to put Trump supporters on lists and dehumanize conservatives, or dehumanize anyone with a dissenting opinion. That's the exact same thing that Nazi propaganda did to make everybody turn on the Jews and turn in your neighbor, and infestation, right? This is an infestation of people that are subhuman. So we keep beating that down, keep beating that drum, and divide and conquer. And then you can't conquer without disarming. So it's just, I mean, it's pretty simple to see. I don't know why a lot of people don't get it, but what I just don't understand is how you can literally ask any liberal if they trust the government, and they'll say no. And you're like, all right, so you want to give them everything. You want to give them our guns. You want to give them our health care. You want to give them everything to control our education, everything. But you don't trust them. Like, well, oh, the whole world is watching, and I don't really worry about the Civil War or anything like that in the States. What I worry about is Russia and China and every other country that hates our guts, but those two are the big ones. And they keep seeing us turn soft. We're getting softer and softer by the day. The damn army just put out new standards or whatever for the gender neutral army, so that women, not only, because I just heard about this, and I was talking to my girlfriend, and she's in good shape and works out and stuff, and I asked her if she could do the what's required, and she said yeah. So it's not average. They're actually making it below average, or I don't know what the hell you would call it, below average standards for women, and that's the standards of fitness for the army. Like, no more pull-ups, no more nothing. Like, I don't know, it's and Russia and China are just sitting back like, just counting the days down. 20 years, baby, we'll have this. In another 20 years, can you imagine how much we'll be indebted to China? How much China will be supplying our country with everything? And then how much stronger they'll be just from not crushing everything that is masculinity, or and then Jonathan, I seen you said something here. Thank you for your cervix. That's right. I watched that little thing you sent me, and that shit is just like, anybody who thinks that shit would be okay, that they're just trying to help people out, like, yeah, they really do want to help people by implanting a chip into their brain to cure PTSD. Like, okay. Anybody who would believe that shit just should stick their head in the sand and let the world go by. Sent me a clip of a long video. Shit, I watched the damn thing. Realized it was like 25 minutes long. About trying to implant little microchips or microchips into veterans' brains, or into soldiers' brains or military members' brains, pre or post, which it would obviously turn into pre deployment, pre any kind of combat, and then they'd be able to kind of steer them out of post-traumatic stress. So basically, they'd be able to take over your brain enough to let you go do war, do violence, do heinous shit, follow orders, and then, oh yeah, you'll be all right, because we'll put this little microchip, and every time your brain wants to think back about that day or that month or those couple of times, we'll just put some rainbows and bunny rabbits in there instead. Like, get the fuck out of here. That's when it becomes like, okay, now we're literally screwed. Like, this is now a science fiction movie, and we're literally done, like, as a human race. Telling us not to give up our fight. Exactly. All those other countries, you hear from people all the time, do not give up the fight. Do not. Like, scratch and claw and fight for every inch, because they've all seen it before. I mean, shit, read one history book, they're all the same. Divide, conquer, disarm, and do what you want to do, what the hell ever you want to do at that point. Nobody's going to do nothing about it. I mean, we are lucky as a country, honestly, to have Canada. Canada ain't never going to do shit to nobody. And then Mexico, which is, they don't have the infrastructure or anything to do shit to anyone either. So, like, we're really lucky that as far as border wise, we don't have an actual threat or even a thought of a threat at our borders. So having an extremely solid navy, and then obviously having an armed populace, of course nobody is dumb enough to invade the US. But take a couple of those factors away, you make us all weak as hell, and then you just cut off our supply lines from China. So now we ain't got shit. Our supermarkets have run dry. Like, dude, there's so much shit that it's real simple to see. I mean, if you just kind of think about it, it's like, well, yeah, that makes sense. 2 + 2 is 4, but oh shit, what did that say? You don't think, honestly, think that there were 0 conservatives walking around confiscating guns? Oh yeah. That's the thing, man. You can't say that people weren't just following orders when it came down to it. And extenuating circumstances is what it'll all come down to. Like, if you just say, oh, we're disarming this neighborhood, then people would stand up and say, I'm not taking these people's guns away. But if they can somehow add one little extenuating circumstance, like Katrina, now all of a sudden it's like, oh, because this is going on, all of a sudden now it's okay to do this. Now it's okay, now that there's this extra, this situation, now it's okay to actually disarm these people. Like, that's probably how it'll go down. That's probably how it'll have to go down. A lot of people will stand up and say no, but like I said, if you add a little bit of extenuating circumstances there, you can probably figure out what people are going to go to. And it's just probably gonna come to that eventually. And training videos when they're on the range, is that my property? No, that's a friend of mine's farm. got a like 600 plus acres, and he runs around. Hell, there's usually not really anybody around, or I usually have kind of the run of the place, but it's just a spot, kind of an event farm. Like, we're doing a lot of work this year to it, building it up, building the range up, and might even move the range location to a different spot on the farm so I can make it bigger. And then we have a big moto track, and there's a wedding venue there that eventually that we're kind of building up. We built all the roads to it and stuff, and we have a pad done, but haven't built the there's gonna be a big pavilion for like weddings and shit like that. It's a pretty tight place, but I just get to kind of have my run of it and do whatever I want. So if I have a class there or something, I just throw him a couple $100. Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. Definitely gonna be conservatives that have to make the stand, whether they're gonna do it or not, or lose their job. But for sure, it's gonna be really tough for those individuals in Democratic run cities and states, because then they're not going to be able to kind of look to to their left and right for help. And that's where the actual police themselves at that ground level, they're just going to have to say, look, we're not doing it. Individuals, like, okay, you can fire me, but hopefully all my brothers in blue will help me out here by saying, you got to fire all of us. And then, okay, now you got no more teeth. All of a sudden that fancy piece of paper that says this shit's illegal don't mean much when, what do you got, a giant magnet in the sky? You're gonna all these guns are going like, you know. So that's the way it's got to go. It's got to be at the very ground level, and everybody say, hey, we ain't doing this. Yep. And that's the problem, is one cop can't do shit. They really can't swing it. Like, it's got to be a whole thing. And I would think that probably more than 50% of cops are conservatives, but you got to think too, conservative doesn't mean Second Amendment, and it sure as hell doesn't mean Second Amendment absolutists like we are. Doesn't mean, you know, that they have a real understanding of how important the Second Amendment actually is. Like, a lot of people are conservative or maybe middle of the road, that kind of vote one way or the other based on a couple of issues, but they're not, you know, I'm a one issue voter, and then, right, if there's two candidates that potentially are solid both on this Second Amendment, First Amendment kind of issue, which I put those two together really, but a lot of folks aren't like that. A lot of people, you know, they think guns are for hunting and shit, or personal protection. They don't really see the whole thing. So farm we got is sick. It's pretty awesome. There's a big ass cabin that can be rented, and so like when I start having some bigger classes and stuff there, there's a big cabin that could be rented that'd probably sleep, like, I mean, shit, if guys wanted to, you know, just bunk kind of wherever. I think the basement of it isn't finished, and there's 3 bedrooms, I believe, but that's like full-size pimp bedrooms and shit, where you could easily sleep 10 people in the house. But yeah, it'll be really tight. Then we'll have the track there, and that's all changing now. that might become an actual thing. You know, my employment and what I do could actually change kind of a great deal this year. So depending on what we do with all this stuff we're thinking of doing, we got a lot of shit going on, so it should be really fun. And then there's, you know, wedding venue and all that kind of stuff, which I don't really give two shits about that part of it, but I build all the stuff, so. Oh boy. Alright guys, well, if you ain't got any more questions or anything, that was pretty good. I'm just waiting on waiting on it to start snowing again. Actually, it's supposed to snow again for a couple more hours, and kind of knock that shit out, and then get to go home. So if you guys ain't got any more questions or anything, we'll call her a day. It was actually a pretty good conversation. It's a lot easier for me to waste an hour talking on here than it is to just sit here and diddle on my phone. So alright guys, I'll be putting up some videos and stuff. I got a couple things ready to go, a couple things on the agenda. Yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on. The wedding thing will be kind of interesting. It won't be anything real fancy. It'll be kind of when people want to, you know, a lot of people just want a kind of a low-key wedding. There's awesome scenery and shit all around though, so be good for pictures and all that stuff. And then be basically just a big ass pavilion in the middle of a field. So a pretty simple setup. And probably start doing that next year. I'd say this year we'll get all the rest of the infrastructure. But if we do the moto thing, which what we might end up doing is we're going to build onto the motocross track and make it actually, instead of it just started as a practice track for me and basically one other guy. And when we were racing heavy, that's kind of that we had the spot, and I built it for just us. And then slowly it's evolved to where more and more people are coming around, and I've tamed it way down so that everybody can kind of have fun. Because at one point it was just kind of crazy. Me and one friend of mine who were both you know, high level riders, we just built it kind of fun and crazy and peaked up jumps and stuff like that. So now it's taken on a different kind of role, and there's more and more people, and then there's not a lot of game around for tracks that are just always practice tracks, open all the time to practice all the time. So might turn it into a facility kind of like that, and then have the range, move it, kind of stick it into a different corner, because if there's people riding, which at that point we'd have like lots of people coming, you know, ride days with 100, 150 people there, you know, lots of stuff going on. So it'll be pretty wild if that all happens. I'll document some of that, make some videos about some of that stuff when we get to it, when we get doing it. It'll be a good time. But could end up being a really, you know, lucrative thing too, because there's a lot of money in it, you know. So yeah, with the weddings and stuff, yeah, that's what a lot of people want nowadays, is to be able to kind of get out of town. And with Corona and shit like that, you try to have a wedding, like a lot of places are closed. You can't get a setup for 100 people. So that's where it's kind of might actually work out. All right, guys, take her easy.